I want to talk to you about emotions. Your emotions are really important. They tell you what you value, what you care about, what you want, what you don't want, what's getting in your way, what is very, very important to you and what you want to protect. They tell you, so these are very important things. Now, sometimes we think that we know what we value in our heads, in our thoughts, but I don't think so. I think you pretty much know what you value, and the only way you can know it is in your body with your emotions. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that if you want to live a good life, if you want to, yeah, if you want to be happy, even, you want to use that, you need to learn how to use your emotions and learn from them, especially the so-called negative emotions. Anger, sadness, fear, jealousy, anxiety, guilt. Those are all very important, and they have really important messages for you. Um, so you don't want to get rid of them immediately. You don't want to extinguish them with a pill. You don't want to dumb them down. You want to learn from them. So let's go over them. Anger. Wow. Anger is really helpful. It tells you what you don't like, what you don't want in your life, what's getting in your way, what you want to get rid of. It's a good thing to know. So, and it also gives you the energy you need to deal with it. But of course, anger can also be very dangerous. Anger can lead us to do things that are really bad, hurt other people in a big way, get ourselves in trouble. But we have to make a distinction between the emotion and the behavior, right? The emotion is good. The emotion is helpful. All of them are. The behavior may not be. We have to separate those two things out. Fear. Well, fear is very useful, obviously. Fear is what protects us. Fear is what keeps us from doing things that are dangerous, that are harmful. But fear is really tricky. Fear is the most tricky of the emotions because we can also use fear to stop ourselves from doing what we want to do. So when we become afraid, when we realize we're afraid, we need to ask ourselves a couple of questions. What am I really afraid of? What's the worst thing that can happen? And we need to wrestle with this and say, well, okay, I'm afraid of this, but do I want to walk with it, walk with the fear and do it anyway? Or do I want to pay attention and not do it? There's no easy answer to how to know the difference. You just have to know. Sadness. Wow, sadness is really important, really valuable, because sadness tells you what is precious to you and what you want to protect and nurture in your life in a very visceral way. That's a good thing to know, right? What is precious to you? What do you want to nurture and protect? Jealousy. Oh, wow. Jealousy tells you what you want and don't have, what you're afraid of losing. That's very useful, isn't it? To know what you want and don't have, and what you care for, what you value and you don't want to lose. Anxiety. Wow. Anxiety is really helpful. Anxiety is what happens when you have to do something that's very hard, or when you're threatened, when you're scared. I think anxiety is very similar to stress. I don't think there's much difference between the stress response and anxiety. They're what happens when you're going to have to do something hard or something is threatening. And they give you the energy and the sharpness you need to do it. So anxiety is really useful if you use it, right? And if you're experiencing it in moderate amounts. If you're too anxious, if you're excessively anxious, you won't be able to function. And if you're not anxious at all, you're in big trouble because you're out of it. If you're not anxious at all, you're not with it. You're not with us here in the world. You're in some kind of la-la land. right? Guilt. Wow. Guilt is what keeps us from doing things that we don't think are right. Thank God for guilt. I would not want to live in a world where there was no guilt, because people would be doing all kinds of things, horrible things, hurting other people, stealing, committing crimes, and they wouldn't feel bad. So they just keep doing it. Thank God for guilt. So what do you do with these emotions? Well, you experience them. You sit with them. When you're feeling an emotion, and one of the hard things about this is that all the emotions kind of feel the same way in a way. Anxiety and anger, both will be felt as a kind of a rush of energy. Sadness, jealousy will be felt as a kind of down feeling. Guilt also. Guilt would be felt as a down feeling. Anxiety will be an up, right? So you're going to feel either energized, up, a rush, or you're going to feel down. And the only way you can get the message from the emotion, which is what you want to do, is to experience it. So sit with it. And sit with it with an open heart and no judgment. Not even a judgment that says, I wish I weren't feeling this way. Or I don't want to feel this way. No, you just sit with the emotion, sit with the feeling, with an open heart, no judgment, and you ask yourself, what's this about? What is going on here? And you see if you can get the message. This is really important. Turns out that you really can't use your reasoning abilities very well if you can't process your emotions. There's a man named Antonio Damasio, who's a medical researcher, and he studied people who had lesions on their amygdala. And since they had lesions on their amygdala, they couldn't process feelings. And what he learned was that when you were with these people, you would think they were quite normal. They actually weren't. And since they couldn't feel, they couldn't really use their rational faculty very well. So I'll give you an example. A person who can't feel would buy a stock, and the stock's going down, and they can see it's going down, but they don't feel bad, so they don't sell it. Or they could be in a bad relationship, right? It's really not good for them. It's toxic, but they don't feel bad, so they don't do anything about it. So you get the idea. Emotions are really very useful, and it's important that we all learn how to experience them, sit with them, get the message from the emotion, and then you can decide what to do with it, right? And this distinction between the emotion and behavior is very important. All emotions are good. They're all helpful. The behaviors associated with them, maybe not so much. That's my message. Take care.